I'm Antonio from FunFlight Academy, and I'm here to talk about the LiteHawk Quattro Neon. We decided to use a LiteHawk Neon for 3 reasons. 1, it's got long flight times, the propellers are protected, and the remote has trim control. I'm going to show you a few things you're going to need to know before you start flying your LiteHawk Neon. The LiteHawk Neon is going to come with your remote, it's going to come with the drone, extra set of props. It's also going to come with a 3.7 500 milliamp hour LiPo battery. It's also going to come with its charger. Let's talk about the Neon. As you can see here, there's 2 different colors. White for the front, red for the back. They did that so you could think of red for like the rear brake lights on a car. So keep that in mind. That's going to help you out with your orientation, which we'll talk about later. So in the top here, you can see it's kind of got a smooth finish. It's sort of got a little texture to it. So again, white for the front, red for the rear. Let's turn it over here. It's got these small bumpers here that's going to help a little bit when it drops. Okay, that's to protect the motors. Second, you're going to see an on and off switch here. And this is the battery compartment. So you simply slide it open and then you lift it up. And you're going to see this little JST plug. And let's go into talking about the battery. Connecting the battery and placing it into the compartment. When connecting the battery, we have to make sure that the JST pins on the drone come into the holes here on the battery. Let me show you how that's done. And that's how you connect the JST plug. It's going to be similar to connecting it to the charger, which I'll go over later. Now, once you're connected, we always have to make sure that the drone is turned off. Now that we have it connected, we're going to fold in the wires here because this battery fits really snug in here. So let's push it in this way, make sure it's nice and flat. We're going to close the flap, push down, and slide it in. And that's how you connect the battery and place it into the compartment. Connecting and charging the battery. So the way we're going to connect the battery is going to be exactly the same way we connected it to the drone. As you can see, there you're going to see the pins here. And again, here are the holes again on the battery. And we want to make sure that this side is flipped over this way and the connection is pushed in. That's how it connects. Now, when you take these off, you never ever want to pull on the wires itself. You want to get as close to the ends as possible. You want to grab hold of it very tightly. And what I like to do is put my hands, pinch really tight, put my hands and push it away. That's how we connect the battery. I'm going to put it back on again. Again, there's the pins. I'm going to put it back on. Now, once you have these connected, it's a regular USB plug. You can connect it to any USB that's going to give you any 5 volts to charge the battery. Now, once this is charging, you're going to see that there's no light. Once it's fully charged, there's going to be a light that comes on. Now, there are 2 different types. One, it'll turn on when it's fully charged, or it'll turn on when it's not charged and turn off when it's fully charged. Just make sure that you know the difference. Never ever leave these charging all by itself. Make sure you're constantly checking it out. It usually takes about 30 to 45 minutes to charge. Replacing the propellers. Now, your LiteHawk comes with an extra set of propellers. If you somehow manage to break the propellers, which it does happen, right, Mike?
Yep.
You have to remember to make sure you put the counterclockwise propellers on the counterclockwise motors and the clockwise propellers on the clockwise motors. Now, I'll show you in a little bit. I'll pull these out here. You're going to get a whole new set of propellers. Now, you want to make sure you remember A is for clockwise, and the clockwise motors go on this side. So you're going to have an A propeller on here, you're going to have a B propeller on here, you're going to have an A propeller on here, B propeller on here. The reason being is you want them to turn inwards in the front and inwards from the back. If you somehow manage to mix them up, the drone won't fly at all, and it could be quite dangerous. Now, the way to take them off is you'd have to gently pull them off and replace them, and I recommend doing it one at a time. And again, make certain that you're putting the right propeller on the right motor. The remote control. Let's go over the remote control. On the top of the remote, you can see the on and off switch, the trim controls, the stick controls, and on the top, you can see the function controls. This remote control requires 4 AAA batteries. We've already put the batteries in here, and when you get it, there's going to be a screw that holds the case in place. Stick controls. Now, the stick controls on the LiteHawk Neon is called Mode 2, and that's what's on 90% of drones now. Sure, they're customizable, but we're gonna go with the Mode 2 because that's what's on the Neon. Now, if you look on the left stick here, this left stick will be your throttle. When you go up, that drone will go up and down, and the left stick also controls the yaw, which will be left and right yaw. And what that does is when you yaw left, the drone will actually turn or rotate to the left. If you yaw right, the drone will actually rotate to the right. That's what this stick does. Now this stick here, the right stick, will give you your pitch forward and pitch backwards. When you pitch forward, the drone will tilt forward. When you pitch back, it'll pitch backwards. Now when you move the right stick to the right, it'll roll to the right. If you move the stick to the left, it'll roll the drone to the left. The function buttons. The LiteHawk Neon comes with function buttons on the top of the remote. If you can see it here, this button here will give you actually 3 modes. It'll be beginner, medium, and high modes. And what that does is actually adjust the gains on the remotes. So on the first mode, or mode 1, it'll give you a nice slow movement. It's not as aggressive. The second mode will be a little bit faster, but not full. It's not giving you full gains. The third mode will actually give you more gains, and it's recommended to use that when you're flying outside or when you get a little bit better and you're more responsive with your controls. Let me just turn it on here, and you can hear it. There's mode 2 because of the 2 beeps. 3 beeps is mode 3, and again mode 1. Just remember, it's like beginning, intermediate, and professional. Again, when you're flying this outside and you've got some winds, you want to be flying in a little bit more aggressive so the wind doesn't take it away. Now, on the other side here is the other mode. This button, you'll hear a constant beep. I'm going to turn that off. And what this button is called the flip button. So when you press this button, you'll hear that constant beep. Well, let's turn on. You'll hear a constant beep until you choose a direction which way you want it to flip. So if I want the drone to flip forward, I flip forward. I press the button and then I flip forward. If I want to flip backward, I press the button and I flip backward. So before we actually do the trim on the remote, we want to make sure that the trim is centered on the remote. And the way we do that is, without turning on the drone, we're going to turn the remote on first. And if you can see, we're going to work from here to there. So centering the trim simply means that there's a beep that goes on when it's centered. So those are beeps that's telling you that I've adjusted it to this way. So if we pull it back the other way, so that beep lets you know that we're centered. So let's do it again. That's centered. So we're going to do the same thing here. That lets you know that that's centered. That's centered. That's centered. Now, arguably, it's usually you won't have to do this right out of the box. Right out of the box from LiteHawk, it's usually centered, but it's a good idea to know how. And some people may argue that you don't need to do it, but isn't it great that you know how? Trimming the drone. Now, to trim the drone, we're going to turn on the remote, and always turn on the remote first. You always want to turn on the remote before you turn on the drone. If you turn this on before you turn on the remote, there's chances that it could start, propellers could start, it could catch a frequency, and it's just not safe. So with anything, always the remote first and then the drone. Let's turn on the remote. Let's turn on the drone. And let's quickly put it down on a level surface, calibrates itself. We're going to hit the throttle up and down. That gives us confirmation that it's bound. So the way we're going to trim the drone is, we're going to lift the drone up about 6 to 8 inches. And let's see how it reacts. Let's move it over to the right. And that's manageable. So until then, have fun and fly safe. Right, Mike, you want to catch this one? I'm Antonio.
I'm Mike.
From FunFlight Academy.
Thanks for watching. Booyah!